friends, and welcome back to the channel. So in this video I am going to answer some of your questions you guys asked me on Instagram. So I'm mostly going to talk about freelancing, about productivity, about my life here in Berlin, and also some UX tips and some tips and tricks for beginners, so for people who are new to the industry. So I made myself an awesome coffee with gluten-free oat milk. Yeah, awesome. I hope you also have a nice drink at hand, whatever you prefer. So yeah, cheers. Okay, I would say let's get started with the very first question. So the first question is, do you review portfolios? So generally, yes, I do. I have done a few portfolio review sessions in the past, also a few for free. But the next portfolio review session that is coming up, it will be in September, because I am going to give a talk at the Forward Festival in Berlin. And there I'm also going to review portfolios. So I'm going to do a portfolio review session with, I think, like 2 other designers, and we are going to review portfolios. So if you're planning to go to the Forward Festival and you want me to review your portfolio, you can definitely do that. And in the meantime, feel free to check out my portfolio masterclass. Maybe that's interesting for you. I'm just going to link it in the description box in case you want to check it out. So, tips for finding a paid UX internship. So the thing is, I don't know actually where you're based. The person who asked that. But the thing is, in Germany, most internships are paid. And I think this definitely changed also in the last years. Like, it's very common that people really get paid for an internship, especially in UX. So if you don't get paid, I probably wouldn't actually take on that internship, because I wouldn't really be sure that it's a very serious offer. So usually you get paid, not like crazy amount of money, but I would say it's between like 400 and 800 per month, which is definitely okay for an internship, I would say. But if you don't get paid, then I actually wouldn't take it on, because it's very uncommon, right? So if they don't have money for you to pay you, then they probably don't have like proper clients, or they do like crazy miscalculations that they don't have the money for you. Or if they have the money and they don't want to pay you, then just don't go there. So what I would do is there are some platforms. I'm going to link them in the description box, so feel free to check them out, where you can find jobs but also internships. Not only in German, but I would say like all around the world. So just check out these platforms and look for internships. Most of them are paid, and there are a lot of open positions for UX jobs. And from time to time, I'm also posting UX internships in my UX job board, so you can subscribe and then get notified if I post something, because usually I try to post jobs there that are, from really like internship to junior positions, but also to really head and principal levels. What university did you study, Patricia? So I did study graphic design, basically. So it's called communication design at Hochschule Mainz, which is near Frankfurt for all the non-German people. The focus there was mostly on like print products, I would say. So we did a lot of like editorial projects, a lot of typography, branding, basically. Not so much digital, which I didn't like that much, because I even in my studies I already realized that I'm like super keen to learn UX design and digital design, so I was absolutely passionate about that. Also did my bachelor thesis about that topic, so it was around a VR project about like pharmaceutical companies, and I did an internship in that area, and I learned all the UX things by myself. I did courses, I read books, I did all the things, did a lot of projects and hackathons. So I try to learn as much as I can, and then I kind of switched to UX. So what I did study was not UX or digital design, it was basic graphic design, which right now is, I think, a really helpful thing because now I, established in the UX field and I still have the graphic design background, which is a nice thing to have, but I usually don't use it that much in my day-to-day job because I mostly do UX jobs right now and not so many like UI or like interface design jobs anymore. So even for you, if you have like a very different background that can be also like communication or journalism or copywriting or even economics, and you want to switch to UX, that's definitely not a problem at all. You still have a lot of opportunities doing the right courses online. For example, like the Google certificate is something that I can highly recommend, or all the courses from Niels and Norman, they are awesome. They're a bit pricey, but they are awesome. And so you can just check them out, do them, or you do a bootcamp. So there are a lot of different ways how to really get into the field and into the area. Yeah, and there's also a question about how to get started as a UX designer. How do you start a UX career? Do I need a bootcamp? No design background. She said that she's a journalist. So the thing with bootcamp is you don't need a bootcamp. A bootcamp is one way to get into the industry. And there you need to be very cautious because what I'm seeing right now is that there are a million different kind of bootcamps out there. They are all, promising you basically everything, like you get a job afterwards, you learn all the skills, you are like a proper UX designer after finishing that bootcamp, after the 3 months. And you have all the skills basically, but you need to pay like a crazy amount of money, like $10,000, like around that, I would say. So I would be very cautious with bootcamps. There are like a few bootcamps that I can recommend. For example, Iron Hack, I think this is like a very solid. They offer like a very solid and proper education. So I worked with them and from people who did their bootcamps. And the second kind of bootcamp style that I can recommend is Career Foundry here in Germany. They are also awesome. You get a mentor and have like some kind of like a longer period of the course. I think it's like half a year or something like that. And you can also do it half time. And if you're unemployed, the Arbeitsagentur even pays for the whole course. So that's awesome here in Germany. But you can only do it in Germany as far as I know. But like I said, there are a million other bootcamps around who, saying or promising you everything. The truth is that after you're finishing the bootcamp, you are not a proper UX designer. You still need to learn so much. You need a lot of practice, and especially in UX, a lot of things are coming over time with a lot of experience and profound knowledge and, trying things out and really by learning, by doing. If you want to do a bootcamp, really do your research, look the company up, if they are doing great work. Talk to students who finished their courses or the bootcamp. What kind of jobs did they land? Or just text them on LinkedIn or on Instagram and ask them a couple of questions. Usually they respond. I would respond if I would be that person. And just ask them how did they like the experience, if they can recommend it, etc. So really do your research before starting a bootcamp because it's like a really high price. But generally, I would say that you don't really need that bootcamp. This is just like one option to get into the industry, but like an expensive one and like a very time-intensive one for like 3 months. Like everything is very condensed in these 3 months. Other options are definitely, doing, learning everything that you learn in the bootcamps yourself, which is definitely doable. So they are not teaching you anything crazy. You can find everything in books or in courses online. I already mentioned them, like the Google certificate is awesome to get started with UX. This is something that I can highly recommend. Like I said, the Niels Norman courses and also the Interaction Design Foundation courses, they're also really awesome and pretty cheap. So this is nice. And with courses on, I think besides the courses, what is also awesome for me are books. Books are awesome. You know, people who wrote those books did a lot of research. You know that all the things that are written there are true. There are some really awesome basic UX books that you need to read anyway. And if you are a person who's good with books, just really like work through the whole books, mark all the parts that are interesting for you, write all the things down, and then really try all the things out by creating your own projects, by building your own portfolio with your personal projects. You can also do that by joining any workshops or doing hackathons where you work in groups, and yeah, you kind of really start building your portfolio. Yeah, those are actually my tips. If you want some book recommendations, check out my Instagram. I am sharing a lot of books there, a lot of UX tips and resources that might be interesting for you. Okay. Oh, there's also a question, what was your first project after learning UX UI? So the thing is that, the learning process is still, I would say it's still ongoing. So it's never that you say oh, now I learned UX UI or that I am a UX designer. Of course, you learn the basics at one point, but there are still so many things to learn all the time because things are changing. There's new tech coming. There are new studies coming. You're continuously learning all the way. You need to be prepared for that. So you're never okay, now I know everything. This will never happen. After I felt that I kind of know what I'm doing, I actually, because when I applied for UX jobs back then, I already mentioned, my background was graphic design, so I had no UX projects besides my bachelor project. And all the other stuff was editorial stuff, infographics, typography projects, branding, etc. So what I have done after I felt that I really know what I'm doing and learned the methods and everything, I used the branding projects and added the UX UI layer on top. So for example, I did an infographic project during my studies, and then when I needed to build my portfolio, I created an app for that project, where you could slide through the different layers of the infographic, where you get all the kind of different kind of content, and I actually used all the methods that I knew back then. I did research and I created a prototype, a paper prototype, and then I did build the proper design, and after that I did some testing, and then I integrated that in my portfolio as a whole project. It was not spectacular, but at least it shows my employee or the person who hired me back then that I am willing to learn and that I'm really trying to use the method. So they really liked that kind of approach. And I think, when I'm talking to recruiters or hiring managers, they still say the same, that it's even if the project is not that awesome, it's really nice if they see your approach, or that you are really doing testing and really thinking user-centered. This is the best. I am organizing myself. So I'm working as a freelance UX designer, and organization is the key to not get nuts at some point, at least I realized. So I'm trying to be very organized and very on point and really focused when I need to, because this is the only way that really keeps me that space of freedom and also my private life when I'm not working. Because the problem that I used to have was really that when I had some free time, I was thinking about work constantly, about all the things that I need to do. And when I was working, I felt that I was working really late hours and so much, and that I really also needed some time off. So I really needed to rethink the structure to really be very productive and to really work so much smarter. Still hard, but much, much smarter. And this is my approach and my goal also for this year, or I think 1.5 years or so. I really tried to change that, and it's working awesome. So I'm very happy about that. I don't do any late hours now. I'm not working on the weekends. Sometimes I'm doing some kind of work because I need some like quiet or focus time, but not like the crazy amount. And I'm still productive and, you know, get all the things done, but I still have now a really nice private life, which is awesome. So what I'm doing is like I have all my things in Notion, all my projects, all my personal to-dos, basically everything is there. I can show you my Notion organization in another video. If that's interesting for you, let me know in the comments. I'm happy to show you. And then I have my planner, which I created, so my own template. And with this template, I am, you know, setting my monthly goals, my weekly goals, and then I have like my time blocker for each day. And this really is a game changer for me. I see what I need to do during that day, what are the top 3 priorities. I write down all my tasks, and then I kind of like log the different times in my time blocker calendar. And it's so crazy, right? Because if you know you have 2 hours to finish something, you finish it, right? Then I use a really awesome app that I can recommend. It's called Forest. This one, not sponsored or anything, but I just really love it. So you can get some kind of like grow trees with it. So it's like a really nice thing, and then you really are focused and don't get on your phone, remove any distractions. For I think like 2 hours is actually a little bit long for me. The best time is for me 90 minutes, because then I'm like in the flow and you know, perfectly focused. Like 2 hours is a little bit long for me, so I think like my brain needs a little break after 90 minutes. So just try it out, it's really awesome. Yes, and after that you finish that task. You can, you know, make a little check mark underneath or next to it, and then I'm really productive. And I'm also writing down like my lunch times, where I'm like making myself lunch or going to doing a dog walk or something like that, which is super nice. And then I feel at least that I can really enjoy also my time off, or, you know, like the weekends or after work, because I kind of like achieved everything and I really felt that I was crazy productive during the day. So this works for me. Everyone's very different, so for you it might be something completely something else. Okay, let me check. One more question. This is also like an interesting question. Like, how do you deal with projects where you are the only designer and everyone else is like IT or developer or something like that? So, to be honest, like most of the projects I've worked in, I have been like the only UX designer or the only UX person. They maybe from time to time there was like another UI designer who did parts of the project or something like that, but most of the times I am the only one, which is totally fine for me. It's a bit, you need to communicate really great, otherwise it, you know, can lead to a lot of problems, especially with like developers or something like that. So in every project you usually have like a project manager or like a product manager, project manager, or sometimes both, or who you also communicate with, right? So you have someone who prioritizes tasks, who also helps you to decide what is really important and who gives you feedback. So it's never that there's no one you talk to. So there's always someone. Could also be, if you're working in a startup, then those are like the founders or anyone who really decides what is important. Of course, you consult them, you know, after doing research and from your expertise, but still there's like a discussion going on. And my tips when working with developers are definitely like talk early and often. So as soon as you have any kind of ideas how things are working, you know, ask them for like a quick meeting, like a quick Zoom call to talk things through. Talk with them constantly on Slack, invite them to your Figma file, ask for feedback, and make this like a, you know, like a back and forth discussion, not only like, is this working, but more like, how can we solve this? And if you know, get them on board early on, you get this like team vibe, I felt, and you don't have this miscommunication that maybe leads to kind of features that can be built or can be tested, right? Because Testing is such an important thing, and some things, from my experience, are very difficult to prototype in Figma or Adobe XD or something like that, and you just need like a coded prototype or parts of it. So it's very nice to communicate with them early and often, and yeah, not only like Slack messages, but really have like constant calls where you talk things through and see where they maybe need your help or your support, and what you can do also for them to make their life easier, right? Because that can be a real challenge. And from my experience, sometimes they are in the beginning are not super into talking all the time, but like this really quick feedback sessions where you talk things through are like awesome and very helpful. Okay, cool. If there are any other questions you want me to answer or anything else you want me to talk about, feel free to just share them in the questions. And thank you so much for joining, and wish you all a wonderful day, and see you next